Everybody's burnt out. It's the end of the semester.
So 65 people. So
Nice. So let me know, boss.
hang on. Too many windows. Go for it.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, counselors from upstate, middle state, downstate. Welcome to our webinar on counselor burnout. I want to thank the committee for putting this together. We have a couple of people that's on our professional development committee. We have Sharon Usher, I saw her earlier. We have Dr. Kathy Corbett, I saw her earlier. A special shout out to my class, sorry, 643 counseling. Our presentation this evening is Burnout Again. And we have the lovely Miss Keisha Smith, nurse Keisha Smith. And as you can see, her resume is in front of you. And she has done 2 presentations previously. One was on edibles, which was a good presentation. So kudos to those that attended that webinar, and the one on fentanyl. So I want to say kudos to you as well. At the end of the presentation, you will see we have a couple of webinars that will be coming up. Hopefully you'll be able to join us then. Nurse Smith, take it away. I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, everyone. Yes, I was talking to myself. Yes, as you all guys know, yes, it's burnout for everyone, and this is the thing for you guys. So, take time out for yourselves, and, just a little rundown, because we all know what burnout feels like. So, and it's the end of the day. All right, so can you guys see my PowerPoint here?
Not yet.
Okay, let me just try to do something here.
Oh, sorry. For those of you that don't know me, I am Dr. Gail Reed Barnett, the Professional Development Chair.
All right, can you guys see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so burnout. Like I said, you all know what burnout is. In work, and your work involves like a lot of emotions, and you guys can become drained and overwhelmed. And especially as school counselors, you take on many other tasks besides being school counselors. Okay, so job burnout, just a little brief, is described as exhaustion of energy. It could be identified as emotional distancing of a professional from their work and feeling negative energy towards the same jobs that they used to enjoy. And it can be caused by individual jobs to show less quality once you become burnout. So signs of burnout for an individual can be such as difficulty in concentration at work, feeling of dissolution at the workplace, feeling, drained, irritated, being very critical and negative, just towards your job and everyone.
Kanisha, people are having a little trouble hearing you. If you could speak up some.
Okay. And to prevent, school counselors from burning out, like I said again, it can be tiresome. Mentally and physical health is very important. So it's important for you, everyone, to get checkups. The stress of work and burnout is not like, taking a toll on their health. So it's good to check your blood pressure, sugar, get your annual checkups, like I said, have a physical done, that it doesn't add on to whatever underlying issues you may have. And you guys, are also, don't push yourself to the limit. Try to, I know it's hard to, to do, it's easy to say, hard to do. And you should take time off for yourself, such as like, just like walking, breathing. We'll talk about that a little bit towards the end, about breathing and like a little bit of yoga and stuff like that, okay? Everyone can hear me a little bit better? I just want to give a thumbs up. You can hear me a little bit better. All right, thank you. All right, relevant factors of burnout is identified. There's several factors: workload, more work than you can take on, lack of control at your job, because of autonomy and access to resources, absence of proper reward can match the efforts accomplished. People are not recognized, that much. So sometimes, you get burned out because you don't feel like you're being recognized enough for what the good that you guys do. Okay. Tips to avoid school counselor burnout. Like I said again, it's just, basically, just do well checkups on well checks on yourself, being your provider, even counseling, therapy, to, lifestyle, eating good, try to take naps, when you do have free time, at home, not at work. And also like setting your limits, like putting your foot down to like say, you know what, this is what I can do today, instead of just, going full overload, which we are all used to doing. But it's just, there's a time point to say, I have this on my plate, this is what I can handle, okay? And again, like I was just mentioning, like relaxation techniques, I don't know, like meditation, like 10 to 15 minutes before starting, work, sometimes listen to some like music, take deep breathing, and just, just take a time out sometime mentally and just, tune into your breathing, and also, stretching, yoga, for example. And I have like some breathing techniques. I don't know if you guys want to just take a moment, and we can also, close your eyes and take a deep breath, sit up straight in the chair, and then take a deep breath and imagine yourself, breathing, and then letting it out. And then you do that a couple of times, and open your eyes. And if you do that a couple of times, it'll, rejuvenate you a little bit more, okay? And also like just stretching, like doing like yoga poses, stand there and, exercise, like, stretch your legs and also deep breathe as well, okay? So very important to prevent, we can't stop burnout, but we can help in the process of just taking the time in the moment to just rejuvenate and to breathe and just focus on yourself for like 10, 15 minutes. At least try for a day. And then, like I just stated, just to sum up everything, like you guys, like I said again, know what burnout looks like. Work overload, working past your limits. So we have to try to, reduce our work overload and not taking on so many different tasks. Because the school counselors, they're calling you like, oh, this child, they're feeling sick today. Oh, this child, they just give you the ton load of everything. You become the nurses, you become the school counselors, you become administrators. So just, just try to not wear so many hats, okay? And try to just, what you have control of, just be very mindful and say, it's okay to say, I can, I'm unable to take on this task, even though you guys want to. All right. And again, take time out to go to, your providers, therapists, anyone, for your mental health and for also your physical health. Okay. And exercise breathing technique. That's about it. Any questions? Because I know like burnouts, like everyone, I got burnout. What are like some things that you guys do to manage your burnout?
Any questions? Does anyone have any techniques that they found to be helpful for themselves?
Someone, Christine wants you to go back to the colored wheel.
Which one? Which one?
The wheel.
The colored wheel, slide 5, I think.
Gotcha. Yes.
Oh, okay. They want to talk about okay. Go ahead.
What's the question?
People are posting various things that they tried. Walking,
Right, walking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
yoga, breathing exercises.
Meditation.
Mm.
Also seeing like just for mental health. Also seeing a therapist. That can be a number one. Like sometimes we're embarrassed to say, oh, you don't need to see a therapist, but sometimes that can help as well.
How do you set boundaries?
I guess like basically, well, for myself, like I just, I've learned to like stick to my scope of practice and not wear too many hats, because I could tend to say, okay, fine, I'll become the medical assistant, or I'll become, the front desk. So I'm just like, there's a time when I have to just say, no, and just let them, do their part, instead of saying, I can get this done. I'm just twirling my fingers, but it's just sit back and set those boundaries and just stick to your scope of practice.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, and I think it's similar to setting the boundaries, but also how do you we're in school counselors, and your principal or your leadership is the one that's like giving you all these extra hats. Because when I started, I saw the ASCA model, and the ASCA model was like, this is what you're supposed to do. These are jobs that you're not supposed to do, but we end up getting them anyway. So how do we politely say that's not a part of my job? I don't know.
It's not to say that it's not a part of your job, but like, I guess you can just go to them and say, my primary responsibility right now is X, Y, and Z. And if I get a chance to do, whatever task they're asking you to do, if I get a chance to do it, I'll do it. But my primary task is X, Y, and Z. I know it's easier said than done.
Can I chime
Anyone
in?
else want to jump in?
Sure. I was just gonna say, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I was gonna say one thing that I found helpful for that question that they were asking before. So something I learned earlier in my career is that anytime I interview for a school counseling job, I try to have a conversation with, the whoever I'm interviewing with, and also whoever's going to be the principal or the administration in that school, just kind of to get an idea of what their expectations are. I make it clear that, as school counselors, we tend to wear different hats in schools. So, one school may want you to spend most of your time doing SEL lessons, I'm sorry. Or they might want you to spend more time doing the counseling, or more time, dealing with attendance issues, right? So it's important to clarify with your admin, how they would like you to spend most of your time. What is their expectation? What is the need at that school? And as you all know, we do tend to wear different hats, But I think getting some clarity from admin as to how do they view, right, the counselor's role in that particular school, and what do they hope to get assistance with from the counselor. I think that's something that will definitely help.
So Joseph,
Sharon-
I just
Sharon's
wanted
got
to
her hand up.
ask Joseph, can I ask Joseph something really quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so Joseph, you said something that was really important. You said, you know, to ask about expectations. So once you ask about the expectations in the beginning, I know they tell you, okay, this is what you're gonna do, whatever, but they, you know, later on, when they become very familiar with, you know, just like you said, wear many hats, they become very familiar with you, they say, oh, it starts off really small. And they'll say, oh, Joseph, can you just, you know, and then you'll just go ahead and do it, not knowing. And that's how it piles up as well. And then you guys are wearing, well, all of us, we're wearing many hats.
Right. So no, and I have had that happen as well. And that's where it's important to go back and have another conversation and just say, you know, because I think the person that asked the question, I'm not sure that you have had that conversation initially where you are, you know, clarifying expectations as to, you know, what they would like you to spend most of your time on. And it's true, we do have ASCA and we have all of these things of things we should do and we shouldn't do. But I think one key component of being a school counselor, it's having this sense of flexibility as well. Of course, we don't want to flex to the point where we're
Yeah.
not breaking, right? And that they notice, oh, you can do this, you can do that, and they want you to do everything. But I think having those conversations and, you know, periodically, it's important just to reinstate those expectations, right? And I'm sure, you know, even if the admin does want you to do a lot of things, they and you show them like, look, this is, I would even do some tracking, right? Like you spend a week and you track exactly everything that they have you do, right? You don't complain, you don't say anything, just track it, right? And then bring back that conversation and say, look, this past 2 weeks, I've spent a lot of time doing this, this, and that. And this has cut into the time that you guys want me to spend doing this other thing. You know what I mean? So that they can see once you present data, I think it's easier for them to realize because unfortunately there's like all of these misconceptions that, oh, school counselors are just sitting in their office, right? And they have no idea, you know, all the things that we're really doing, you know? So I think that it's also important to use data to kind of show what are you spending your time on so that they can see why you couldn't get to that phone call or you couldn't do this other thing and how that's cutting into, you know, what it's priority for the school and for the students, you know?
Really good, Joseph.
Yeah.
Mario made a couple suggestions on the chat. He said, make sure you share a calendar of your activities. That's good. And take an intern if you can work that in. We always had interns in my department when I was there. And Sharon has her hand up.
Hello, everybody. Also, you might want to talk to at the beginning of the year. You may want to speak to the administrators and ask if you can do like a brief presentation to the staff to let them know what your roles are, so that, you know, because usually, and like it was mentioned, they don't know what we do, but then also it'll bring to light to let the administrators know exactly, you know, what our job description is. Because a lot of the times, like it was said, we're asked to be the dean, we're asked to be this and that. So basically letting people know exactly what our role is as a school counselor may be very helpful. And also with the schedule of, you know, this is what you do, then it may be helpful for you to, when someone brings something to you, they have an idea of, you know, what our job is, because a lot of the times they don't know what we do.
Thank you, Sharon. That was an excellent idea. Also, I think someone was mentioning the ASCA do's and don'ts as counselors. You can have that posted in your office. You can also have a calendar, as someone was said, that you can put outside. You know, you don't put the child's name, but you put, you know, like period 1, I have counseling, period 2, I have counseling. And then maybe on a Friday, you could possibly put administrative duties. So if the principal knows beforehand that you're doing what you need to do, and that you have an hour on a Friday that you can do administrative duties, then the administrator will be able to see that you have some free time. But like Joseph was saying, which is very important, in the beginning in September, you let your principal know or the AP know, you know, that you're here to service the children. You're here to do what is needed, you know, for the children. Anything extra that's out of working with the children, then it's something that we can talk about. You know, you always want to be a team player, but you also have to let the building leader know that the children are the first priority. And please let your administrator know that you are not the dean, because they'll call on counselors to come get Johnny out of the classroom because he's, you know, he's doing whatever he's not supposed to be doing. But communication is a key. As long as you communicate, then I think you will be safe. And even if you also have to put out, I think 45 minutes you get for lunch, you make sure you take your lunch, get up from your desk and leave the building if you have to. So sometimes we get caught up, we don't even eat. And we still, you know, working with the kids, and by the time 3 o'clock come around, you're like, well, what? I didn't even eat today. So you need to nourish your body as well. Any other
Dr. Gail,
comments?
can
Sure.
I add something about lunch?
Yes.
On my schedule, I don't put lunch, I put meeting. So that, and it's not a meeting, it's just lunch. But I make sure that it says meeting, so someone knows that I'm busy. That's my lunch period, but I put meeting. And so when someone says, what are you doing period 6? I'm like, oh, I have a meeting. And so they know to leave me, not to ask me to do anything.
Okay. But is it important? Okay, I like
it's lunch.
It's
No,
important.
it's lunch. It's not a meeting, it's just lunch.
But the thing is, you don't want anybody knocking on your door.
Oh, no, I'm not. I get out of my room. No, because it says, it says I made a meeting.
Get up from your desk and leave the building.
Yes.
Okay. Because if they know, even though you're having lunch, you're still gonna get that knock on the door. Miss So-and-so, I have an issue. Mr. So-and-so, I really need to see you. But if the staff get used to you not being there at a certain time, they won't bother you at that time.
The other thing that I discovered about 2 weeks into my first job was that I couldn't eat lunch in the teacher's lounge.
Oh, because the students know where you were.
No. The teachers are there. I was gonna stop by and ask you this question. I was gonna stop by and ask you this question.
Yes.
It was like their opportunity, and it wasn't horrible. It was just their opportunity to see you. But you had to find another way to do that. Yeah.
And you can always talk to your colleagues as well.
Christine Hoskins Tardabone, can you jump on and you put a nice comment in?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I had a doctoral student a few years back who did a research in school counseling burnout, and she found that it's most directly related to the administrators that have the most impact on your role. And so one of the things that I've always done is in my counseling advisory, I always make sure I have a counseling advisory that a school board member can be a part of, and an administrator that directly impacts our team. We choose to have one school counseling advisory for K through 12. So I make sure I have elementary administration, middle school administration, and high school. And the more you educate the administrators and the people working closely with you and the people who make decisions on the role of the school counselor, what we are capable of doing, differentiate what we do based on the school social workers and the school psychs. The more educated they are, then it becomes easier to work your way into the role that you know it to be, versus the role that they would like it to be sometimes.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I like what Carolyn Lassell wrote also.
Yeah. You could jump on, Carolyn, if you want.
Do you does it allow to share screen? Oh no, that's just you guys, right?
Right.
I'm not sure. What do you got?
Oh, you want to share something?
No, I just wanted to show a little bit of what my calendar looks like and some of the tips that you
Okay.
can actually use.
Go for it.
Let's see. And then
So
I
do
also
you-
wanted to share another resource because I think it's really important that we get to really know ourselves.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if you guys know about the 16 personalities test, 16personalities.com. So you could take the test. It's a 10-minute test that you would take, like a quiz. It asks you questions, and you have to put like how much you agree with it. Whether you agree or disagree with these different terms. And then it pops out a personality for you out of 16. And it has a lot of intuitive information about how you interact with other people, how you behave in relationships, what helps you to recharge, right? We're talking about burnout. So it helps you to know, what kind of activities you can engage in that help out with, your self-care and your self-esteem and things like that. It even gives you suggestions for your professions and things like that. If you want to go deeper into it, they do have like other tests that are more profound, but those you do have to pay for. But the initial one you would just take. And I've gotten to know myself even better just by looking at this, because we have a lot of self-care ideas, right? But you have to know what works for you. Yoga doesn't work for everybody, right? Or, reading a book doesn't work for everybody. So you have to really know yourself and what works. Then I just wanted to show a little bit of what the calendar looks like.
That is your, oh my gosh, your calendar?
Yes, it's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
So I keep everything color coded, so that way, I know when I have certain things and then just come up. But this works for me, the more organized I stay, the more in control I feel, right? So I put everything on there. I even have, I put my prep. I've got my prep and my lunch. I try to take it around the same time, although it changes depending on what's going on that day. Anything you see in orange, that means that it's an intervention, something that was not planned in the schedule, but that just kind of came up. I try to put those in there too, because if I notice that I'm getting a lot of orange, right, that means there's a concern, right? Something's happening that's taking me away from my work often, and I can easily show this to the admin, all the greens are meetings. I was helping out with translation for Spanish and the PTA and the parent-teacher conferences.
Yeah.
The blue ones are SEL lessons. All the yellow are counseling sessions that I have with groups and individuals. So I feel like for myself, the more I get organized, the better I feel about having control. And, if I feel that things are out of control, I can go back to the data and see, what's going on, what has changed in my schedule and what's making me, have all this stress, and then having a conversation and talking about how to go from there will be also helpful.
Joseph, what level do you work with?
I'm at Elmont, the Elmont Union Free School District in Long
Oh,
Island.
which high school, middle school?
This is elementary school.
Ah, cool. Okay.
But I used to work high school before, and the same thing, the more organized that I am, the better. It really helps a lot. Yeah.
If I was your administrator, I wouldn't even bother. As a matter of fact, I would bring you a cup of coffee.
Ah, I wish. All
Nicely
right.
done. Nicely
You got
done.
it.
Nicely, thank you.
Anyone else like to share?
Yeah, can I add one more thing, Bob? It's Christine Hoskins Tartabone.
Yep.
Somebody turned me on to a book that I put in the chat, The Truth About Burnout, How Organization Caused Personal Stress and What to Do About It. And that's Matlock and Leader, the research that they've done. And it's very fascinating because very similar to some of the work David Cottrell has done on like Monday morning mentoring. They talk about how the organizational structure, people don't quit organizations, they quit people. And it's about how we're interacting with each other. So that color wheel that she had up kind of talked about some of those other stresses. So when you're talking about people struggling, certainly self-care is important for all of us to do, but it's how we're fitting and working within our organizational structure, I think, that really has a big, powerful piece. And advocacy, I think, is the big key in this way. Is how we fit in the organizational structure, how people understand our role, how people appreciate what we do. All those things that were on her color wheel, I think, have to do with advocacy and how we can help put to the forefront what our profession can offer and our importance in the bigger picture in the educational system.
Thank
I like
you.
that. Can we put the wheel back up? Do you guys need to see the wheel again?
And just as a reminder, you'll get a copy of the saved chat, so you'll see the links and the book suggestions and stuff like that.
It's not negative.
There she goes.
Okay. This is the wheel. Nurse Smith.
I like it.
This is the wheel.
Okay.
Yeah, with the factors of burnout that she was talking about.
Yeah, and so when you look at those factors, those aren't self-imposed factors. So that's why it becomes so important to work within the organization and advocate. That advocacy and helping us get to where we all know we can be to be most effective is going to help prevent burnout.
The thing that I've discovered over time is that administrators, they seem to know what their teachers are supposed to be doing and how to do it. You know, like the math teachers and English teachers and so on. But a lot of them really haven't got a clue about what their counselors are supposed to be doing. They're happy when they're working, but they're not sure what constitutes a good program. They're learning, but it's taken a long time.
I think I'm sorry, I disagree.
Okay.
Because as counselors, we're budgeted into their programs. So if our role is to do mandated services, that's what the budget calls for. If our roles serve as to be the guidance counselor or that helps the student.
Counselor, we're not guidance counselors.
We also, in New York City, we all go into the same roles. Doesn't matter what title you have, you can get hired into any one of those roles. So it depends on what you were hired for. Your role is already determined at the time you were hired at that school.
Right, but your certification says school counselor. We've worked on changing the name from guidance to school counselor because we do a lot more than just guide.
Okay, so school counselors then, in that role, at some schools, they do get hired to service, to also do mandated service, but also on high school levels, check credits and transitions and right?
That's all part of what we do as school counselors. And that's also part of the ASCA model. If you haven't looked at the ASCA model, I will ask you to go in and look and see what the ASCA model talks about. It talks about the social emotional piece. It talks about the academic piece. And that's all geared to, if you are working with high school students, that you will be looking at their transcripts. You will be looking at how many credits that
take care, enjoy, bye-bye.
So I think what Barbara was saying is that in some schools it's pretty clearly defined. I've noticed in some schools that it's not, though.
There's someone else. We listened to your conversation.
I'm here. I was just getting ready to text you, but then
I don't know who's talking about.
I got it.
Okay.
I also think that within New York City, in New York City, that, and I know that the people here have a lot of they're in different places, but at least with UFT in New York City, our roles are also defined in those contracts as to what we do and what we shouldn't do, or where are the limitations. But I will never forget that as starting in New York City, that a UFT member, a UFT person said, I'm going to make it very clear, when you're not tenured, if they tell you stay, you stay. If they tell you you jump, how high until you're tenured. And then after you're tenured, then you really start to, set more limitations or boundaries. But before that, no, because they can discontinue you. And that's the way it was told to me very clearly.
No,
Okay,
you're
so
making
I-
making a very good point. Yep.
Yes, you've made a very good point, but I'm also a UFT member. I've been a UFT member for the past 20, 25 years. Okay. I'm saying this, we are not tested monitors. The principal has a way of putting it very nicely. Well, I need for you to go in there and watch Johnny because he has emotional issues. In case he has an outburst, you're going to be there for them. Okay. The UFT does say that we're not supposed to, what's the word? With a test, we're not supposed to do that as well.
We're not
Proctor.
Thank you. We are
The
not
New York
proctors.
State says the same.
Right, but the thing is, there's ways that principals do things. My thing is, and I have a class that I teach, and as Mr. Pena was saying, you establish that with your principal. Yes, you are hired depending on what the budget is. They need a school counselor. A school counselor, we do have our roles, and our roles come from ASCA as to what we do and what we should not do. Will principals take advantage of that? Of course they'll take advantage of that. But you as an individual have to talk to the principal, as Mr. Pena said. It says, look, this is what I need to do because I'm about working with children. And at the end of the day, if I'm a mandated counselor, it needs to be put in CSIS. I believe they still use CSIS. And, and if you're a Title I school, that's where your funds come from.
And the contracts aren't nearly as clear in other districts as they are in New York City, where there's essentially a separate contract for the school counselors. In other places in the state, the counselors don't have those kind of carve outs in their contracts. So you have to kind of understand there's 600 and whatever districts in the state, so it varies widely.
In our contracts, it says and other responsibilities given by your principal.
I hear you.
Well, I'm not going to argue with your principal, but I will say, if you get to the point where you feel like you have you burn out, you got days in the bank, you'd always take a mental health day.
Somebody put the inappropriate things up here. Cool, thank you.
But yeah, this workshop was about basically burning out. We don't want you to burn out. We want you to be able to do your job to the best of your ability. And knowing what you're facing, as Nurse Smith was saying, we need to know what our limits are, and we need to know when to rest. And so that we can be good to ourselves, because if we'll burn out, then guess what? When you go home, you and your family is going to have some issues because you're going to bring that to your home. And that's not what we want.
Has anyone ever worked with a colleague who was burned out? That's a horrible question. I'm asking you to fess up for your colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see a yes. Yeah, we used to call them in another job that I had, they called them RIPs, retired in place. And It's a sad thing to see when someone gets to that point where it's difficult for them to just produce and do the same job that they've done for a long time very well. And it happens though. It happens though. And there's lots and lots of reasons that it happens. People have complicated lives. Any other questions, comments, suggestions? Great ideas. Good ideas today.
Mhm. I think we have a couple of more of our members on the PD. I see Laura Mesa.
Cool.
Hi, Laura. Our president-elect Marjorie Miller is on.
So. without-
Sorry, I didn't turn my mute on. Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Laura Mesa.
Hi,
So,
everybody. This is absolutely wonderful and so necessary. Thank you.
So unless we have some more questions, here's a listing of our PD committee members. You too can join the committee.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we've got an upcoming series that starts tomorrow. Talk about hundreds of people signed up for school counseling regulations for counselors and principals. We're doing them during the day because that's when principals seem to be a little more available. So that starts tomorrow. If you haven't registered and would like to come, it's on our website. We've got some other stuff coming up that didn't make the slide today. If you have any questions, comments, and so on, email profdev@nisca.org. That's Dr. Gale. Here's some resources. And tomorrow or maybe later today, you'll get a copy of the chats. You'll get a certificate of attendance and a link to the video in the email. So unless someone else has something to add, we can give you 15 minutes of your life back.
I just have a comment.
There's some comments in the chat right now.
We're going to be doing something with school counselors and mental health. That's something that we're putting together.
Oh, that's a good question.
Joseph just put that in the chat, Mr. Pena, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Pena.
So yeah, we got great ideas. Again, nisca.org. You can go online and you can send us questions or advice, or even if you want to do a PD, we welcome for our counselors to do PDs for other counselors as well. For those of you who are in the trenches, we're going to be doing some stuff for new counselors as well. There's a test that's coming out for we have a New York State test that's coming out. I believe is this year or next year. Kathy, Dr. Corbett, I saw that you was here. If you want to elaborate on that, it's a new test for school counselors to take in order to get their certification. So those of you in the trenches,
You know, I don't know that much. I'm sorry for interrupting. No, I don't know much more than what you do, Gail, but I know I'm very grateful. I probably don't need to take it.
Yeah, for those counselors who are in the schools now, you do not have to take the test. For those of you who are in the counseling programs, you will have to take the test. I don't know what it looks like, but I will try my best to find out for those of you who are in graduate counseling programs now as we speak. And if you haven't read the new regulations, it is on our website. Counselors, I would advise you to read the new regulations. That's what we are doing. We are informing the principals as to what school counselors are supposed to be doing in the schools.
Would that mean school counselors in any role that you take, that they hired you for?
Yes, there's the New York State, we have new counselors regulations as to what we're supposed to be doing. And we are educating principals because like Bob said, principals do not know what we do as school counselors. They just think that we're just glorified clerks that they pay money for. So there's specific duties that we do as school counselors. So it's on our website.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Smith,
Thanks
thank
for
you
everyone
so
for
much.
coming.
Thank you for your insight.
Yeah.
Everybody have a look out for our next webinars. And I thank you so much for coming. And Christio, I saw you. A shout out to